Selina stood in her small kitchen, happily stirring a steaming pot of stew. She hummed softly, the tune of a wedding song slipping past her lips. Her wedding was only weeks away, and the thought filled her with warmth. Everything seemed perfect. The smell of onions and pepper filled the air, the wooden spoon moving in circles. Then her phone buzzed on the counter. Curious, she wiped her hands on her apron and picked it up. One glance at her banking app made her chest tighten. She blinked, rubbed her eyes, and checked again. Her balance was empty. The number stared back at her. 3,200,000 naira gone. Completely gone. Her hands trembled as she rushed into the living room. Jonas, her fiancé, sat calmly on the sofa, scrolling through his phone like nothing had happened. Jonas! Selina's voice shook. Where's my money? All of it is gone. Jonas didn't flinch. He didn't even look guilty. Instead, he smirked, leaned back, and said calmly, I had to make things right with her. Selina frowned, confused. Her? What are you talking about? Jonas finally met her eyes. In that moment, it hit her. He met his ex. Selina's breath caught in her throat. You took my savings? For her? She whispered, barely able to form the words. Jonas's cold smile stayed on his face. She deserved it, he said simply, as if that explained everything. Then, without another word, he picked up his car keys and walked out the door. No apology. No explanation. Just silence. Selina stood frozen, staring at the door he had closed behind him. The pot of stew still bubbled in the kitchen, but her world had stopped. Her heart felt heavy. Her dreams of a wedding, of a happy future, all shattered in seconds. She sank onto the couch, whispering to herself, he used me. He stole from me. Tears refused to come. Her body was numb. She tried to understand how the man she loved, the man she trusted, could betray her like this. It wasn't a stranger. It wasn't fraud. It was the man who promised to protect her. For 3 days, Selina couldn't eat. The stew she had cooked sat untouched. Her landlord knocked on the second day, ready to ask for rent. But one look at her pale face, and he said nothing. He just nodded and walked away. Everyone could see something was wrong. Inside, Selina's mind kept replaying the same question. Why? She remembered how her friends had warned her. Selina, they had said, a man who hides his phone is hiding a life. But she had laughed it off. She believed Jonas was different. She believed love meant loyalty. Now all she had was an empty account, an unworn wedding dress in her wardrobe, and the cold truth staring her in the face. Her anger grew with each passing hour. She thought about how Jonas had kissed her forehead just the night before, whispering sweet words, while secretly planning to destroy her. It wasn't just the money, she muttered to herself. He stole my trust. He stole my peace. She pulled open a drawer and spread out receipts, savings plans, and bank statements. Each piece of paper was a reminder of her sacrifice and his betrayal. Late at night, unable to sleep, Selina picked up her phone. She searched the name Jonas had once mentioned in passing, his ex, and there she was, glowing on her social media page. A beautiful woman with over 80,000 followers, posting brand deals, vacations, and smiling selfies. Selina scrolled faster, her chest tight. Then she saw the comments. Can't wait to see you walk down the aisle again. You deserve all the love, Queen. Her stomach dropped. Her hand shook as she whispered to herself. He's marrying her, with my money. The words felt like knives. She nearly dropped her phone, but something inside her shifted. The tears dried. The weakness faded. Her eyes sharpened, cold and calculating. She didn't want Jonas back. She didn't want to fight for him. No, she wanted something else. She wanted her power back. That night, Selina stopped being the heartbroken fiancé. She became something else. Something stronger. She told herself, if they think they can steal my future and live happily ever after, they don't know me at all. She didn't need to scream. She didn't need to post online. She would move in silence. And this time, no one would see it coming. The next morning, Selina sat on her bed, staring at the wall. The wedding gown she once adored hung in her wardrobe, untouched. The small velvet box with the ring Jonas had given her sat on the table, useless now. She whispered to herself, all those nights I worked, all those mornings I saved. Her voice cracked, but still no tears came. Instead, Her anger grew deeper. Her phone buzzed again with pictures of Jonas and his bride-to-be. They posed in lavish outfits, smiling for the camera. "So this is where my money went," Selina muttered bitterly. She clenched her fists. Her heart no longer ached with sadness. It burned with determination. "You will not get away with this," she whispered. That evening, Selina picked up her phone and called Grace, an old friend who worked in real estate. Grace owed her a favor, and Selina knew this was the time to collect. When Grace answered, Selina's voice was calm, too calm. "Grace, the wedding venue they're bragging about online. Do you know who owns it?" Grace was surprised. "Why are you asking?" "Selina, what are you planning?" Selina didn't answer directly. She just said, "Can you find out for me?" Grace didn't waste time. Within hours, she called back, her voice filled with disbelief. "Selina, you won't believe this. The venue belongs to Madame Kyra. Do you remember her?" Selina's eyes widened. Memories rushed back. Years ago, Selina had helped Madame Kyra escape an abusive marriage. She had given her shelter, money, and even helped her find a lawyer. And now, fate was handing her this chance. "Do you want to talk to her?" Grace asked carefully. Selina's voice was low but steady. "No. Ask her just one question. Does she want revenge or redemption?" Grace hesitated, then agreed. Hours later, Selina's phone rang. It was Madame Kyra. Her voice was strong but calm. "You helped me when I had nothing," she said. "I never forgot. Now it is my turn." Selina closed her eyes and whispered, "Thank you." The plan began to take shape. Selina didn't need to scream or fight. She had allies now, and she had silence as her weapon. Madame Kyra promised her full support. "Whatever you need, I'll make it happen," she said firmly. Selina smiled faintly. "I don't need to destroy them. I just need them to feel what I felt." Madame Kyra chuckled softly. "Then leave it to me." The days passed quickly. Online, Jonas and his bride showed off their preparations, the gown fittings, the cake tasting, the venue tours. Every photo felt like a knife to Selina, but she stayed silent. She didn't comment, didn't reply. She just watched and waited. Deep down, she knew something bigger was coming. Finally, the wedding day arrived. The sun shone brightly. Guests dressed in glamorous clothes filled the streets. Influencers streamed live videos. Photographers clicked away. Jonas and his bride stepped out of a white limousine, smiling like celebrities. Everyone clapped. They thought it was going to be the wedding of the year. But Selina, sitting quietly in her car a few feet away, knew otherwise. She wore sunglasses and held a chilled drink in her hand. Her heart was steady, not bitter anymore. She had already spoken to Madame Kyra days earlier. Everything was arranged. Now all she had to do was wait. The music played softly as the couple walked towards the hall. Then, suddenly, the venue manager stepped forward. His voice cut through the air. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. This wedding cannot take place here. The booking has been canceled." At first, people laughed nervously, thinking it was a joke. But the manager's face was stern. "You cannot use this hall today. Please leave immediately." The music stopped. Phones lowered. Guests looked at each other, confused. Jonas blinked rapidly. His bride's smile faded. "What do you mean cancel?" Jonas shouted, pulling out his phone. But the gates were already locked. The whispers grew louder. Some guests started leaving. Inside her car, Selina took a slow sip of her drink and whispered, "Now feel what I felt." Jonas tried to argue with the manager, his voice rising. "This can't be happening. I paid for this place." But the man stood his ground. "Sir, the contract is void. You no longer have access here." Guests murmured, phones recorded, and the bride's makeup began to smear under the hot sun. "Jonas," she hissed, tugging at his arm, "fix this." But Jonas could only stammer. He had no answers. Selina watched from her car, her lips curving into a faint smile. She didn't need to scream or expose the truth. The humiliation unfolding before everyone was enough. "This is just the beginning," she whispered to herself. She rolled her window up, started her car, and drove away, leaving chaos behind. Jonas, desperate to save face, led his bride back into the limousine. "Don't worry," he assured her. "We'll celebrate at our new house. You'll see." She clung to his words, still shaken. Cameras followed the car as it sped off. Guests whispered, Some shook their heads. Others laughed quietly. The fairy tale had already begun to crumble. When they reached the house Jonas had promised, something was wrong. A new gate stood tall, the locks were changed, and the compound looked freshly painted. Jonas frowned, confused. Wait, this isn't right. He tried his keys. None of them worked. His bride folded her arms. Jonas, what is going on? He forced a laugh, pretending it was nothing. But inside, panic was building. Just then, an envelope slid under the door. Jonas bent to pick it up, his hands shaking. Inside was the property deed. His eyes widened as he read the name. Not his. Not theirs. Selina's. His face drained of color. This can't be real, he muttered. His bride snatched the paper from him, reading aloud. Property owner, Selina Adeyemi. Her voice was sharp, angry. You lied to me, Jonas. You lied about everything. Jonas dropped to the steps, his head in his hands. His bride stepped back, glaring at him with disgust. You promised me a future. You promised me everything. And now we don't even have a house. Her voice shook with rage. Jonas couldn't reply. He stared blankly at the ground, the weight of his lies finally pressing down. As if to mock him, the sky darkened. Rain began to fall, slowly at first, then heavily. The bride's expensive gown clung to her body, her makeup running down her face. She screamed, throwing her bouquet to the ground. This is a nightmare, Jonas. A nightmare. He tried calling hotels, but each time his card was declined. One by one, the payments failed. He didn't know Selina had already frozen the stolen accounts. With nowhere else to go, Jonas called his cousin. Reluctantly, the cousin allowed them to stay the night. But when they arrived, the bride gasped in horror. A tiny room with one thin mattress on the floor, a broken fan clicking loudly, and mosquitoes buzzing everywhere. The glamorous wedding night she had imagined was gone. She sat on the mattress, her gown soaked and torn, her face pale. The bride turned slowly to Jonas, her voice like ice. This is your future, my love. Jonas swallowed hard. He didn't reply. He couldn't. He sat quietly, staring at the cracked wall. His dreams of wealth and status had collapsed in hours. The woman beside him no longer looked at him with love. She looked at him with regret. That night was long and merciless. The fan clicked uselessly, offering no relief from the heat. Mosquitoes bit their skin. The bride faced the wall, silent tears streaming down her cheeks. Jonas lay awake, staring at the ceiling, his heart pounding with shame. For the first time, he truly understood. He had betrayed the wrong woman. And now, he was paying the price. 1 week later, photos began circulating online. At first, they showed Jonas and his bride arriving in their limousine, dressed in luxury. But soon, another set of pictures appeared, taken secretly. They showed the couple sitting miserably on the floor of a dingy room, one thin mattress behind them, clothes piled in a corner. The contrast was shocking. From glamour to disgrace, all in one day. Social media exploded. From luxury dreams to reality check. Karma is real, one post read. Within hours, the images went viral. Hashtags trended. Memes flooded the internet. Influencers and bloggers dissected the story. People asked, who is this woman Jonas left behind? And soon, Selina's name surfaced. The truth spread like wildfire. Stories emerged about how Jonas had stolen his fiancé's savings, how he had used her money to fund a wedding with another woman. People were outraged. She never fought him in court. She never even said a word, one blogger explained. She just disappeared quietly. Until now, reporters began sending Selina emails. Bloggers begged for interviews. YouTube channels created videos about her strength and silence. Strangers flooded her inbox, some calling her cold, others calling her inspiring. But Selina said nothing. She didn't post. She didn't comment. She simply lived her life. Her silence spoke louder than words. Those who had been betrayed before understood. They saw themselves in her. They shared her story with the caption, "She's not cold. She's just done." That phrase caught fire. It became a slogan for women and men who had been broken but refused to beg for closure. Selina's name became a symbol. Survivors of heartbreak wrote, "We see you. We respect your strength. Strangers admired how she fought back without shouting, how she won without lifting her voice. "You don't need to argue to win," one popular tweet said. Thousands agreed. Selina had become an icon of quiet resistance. Meanwhile, Jonas couldn't show his face in public. Everywhere he went, whispers followed. His new bride deleted her social media accounts, humiliated beyond repair. The same people who once clapped for them now mocked them. Invitations stopped. Calls went unanswered. Their names had become a warning. Betrayal doesn't end while Selina, however, rebuilt her life. She opened a boutique for bridal gowns. Not ordinary gowns, but dresses designed for women starting over. Each gown was a symbol of new beginnings. "I want them to feel beautiful again," she told her first customer. Her shop soon became a haven for women healing from heartbreak. She didn't advertise her success online. She didn't boast or seek applause. Instead, she let her work speak. Word spread quickly. Women traveled from different cities just to buy from her. Some cried as they tried on gowns, whispering, "I thought I'd never feel this way again." Selina would smile and reply, "You deserve it." For the first time in years, Selina felt peace. She wasn't chasing revenge anymore. She wasn't clinging to the past. She was building something lasting, something hers. And though the world still whispered about her silence, she had already won. Jonas's downfall was complete, and Selina's rise was only beginning. One evening, just as Selina was closing her boutique, she noticed a shadow outside the door. She turned, and her heart skipped for a moment. Jonas stood there. His once polished shoes were now worn out, his clothes rumpled, and his face carried the weight of sleepless nights. He looked nothing like the proud man who had walked away from her months ago. He stepped forward slowly, his voice breaking. "Selina, I messed up. Please. I don't know what to do anymore. I need your help." His eyes searched hers, desperate for sympathy. For a second, old memories of love and betrayal flashed in her mind. But Selina didn't flinch. She stood tall, her expression calm. "Help?" she repeated softly, her tone steady. "You need help?" Jonas nodded quickly. "Yes, please. I've lost everything. People mock me. She left me. I don't even have a place to stay. His voice cracked. "I just need someone to save me." Selina folded her arms, her eyes sharp. "You stole my savings, Jonas. You used my money to marry another woman. And now you stand here asking me to save you." Her voice was not angry, not loud. It was firm, controlled. Jonas dropped his gaze to the floor. "I know. I was wrong. I can't undo it. But please, Selina, don't leave me like this." For a long moment, silence filled the boutique. Selina looked at him, and for the first time, she felt nothing. No pain, no love, no hate. Just emptiness. She realized then that she had already healed. Jonas no longer had power over her heart. She turned to her desk drawer, opened it, and pulled out a brochure. Handing it to him, she said quietly, "Start there." Jonas blinked in confusion, then read the cover. It was for a therapy center. His lips trembled. "Selina, I don't understand," she cut him off gently. "You don't need forgiveness from me. You need to fix yourself." Jonas stared at the brochure, his hands shaking. "So that's it?" he whispered. "You're just done?" Selina nodded. "Yes, I'm done. I found peace without you. You need to find yours without me." Her voice was soft but final. Jonas's shoulders slumped as tears welled in his eyes. He wanted to beg, to fall to his knees, but Selina had already turned away. She walked back to her counter, arranging fabric swatches as if he wasn't even there. The sound of her calm movements cut deeper than any harsh words could. Jonas stood frozen, realizing he no longer existed in her world. Finally, he whispered, "I'm sorry." But Selina didn't reply. She didn't even look up. He placed the brochure in his pocket and walked out quietly. The bell above the door chimed softly as it closed behind him. Selina exhaled deeply, feeling lighter than ever before. That night, Selina sat alone at her dining table, eating a simple meal. She smiled to herself. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It wasn't about proving anything. She had her peace, her purpose, and her freedom. And Jonas, well, he was left with nothing but his own regrets. Days turned into weeks, and Selina heard nothing more from Jonas. Sometimes she wondered if he ever stepped into that therapy center, but the thought never lingered long. It wasn't her concern anymore. She had cut the cord that once bound her to his chaos. Meanwhile, her boutique flourished. Brides-to-be whispered her name with reverence, not just for her gowns, but for the strength they sensed in her presence. "You inspire me," one woman said softly as Selina adjusted her veil. Selina only smiled, replying, "We all deserve a fresh start." She stopped checking social media for mentions of Jonas. The scandal that once defined her had faded into background noise. What remained was her story of survival. People admired her not because she shouted, but because she had chosen silence, dignity, and a new path. One evening, Selina stood in her boutique, gazing at a mannequin dressed in a flowing ivory gown. The sight made her smile. "I never wore mine," she whispered, "but it doesn't matter." For her, the gown was no longer a symbol of broken promises. It had become a symbol of second chances, for others and for herself. Her friends often asked, "Selina, don't you ever feel lonely?" She would laugh softly and shake her head. "I'm not lonely. I'm free." The peace she carried now was stronger than any companionship she once craved. She had learned that wholeness did not come from another person. It came from within. She no longer chased validation from likes, comments, or admiration. She didn't need Jonas, and she didn't need the world applause. She had her own rhythm, her own joy. Every stitch she sewed, every gown she designed, was proof that she had rebuilt herself from ashes. Jonas, on the other hand, drifted into obscurity. People no longer cared about his excuses. His new bride had left him, his wealth was gone, and his name carried nothing but shame. Occasionally, whispers of his downfall surfaced, but Selina never engaged. She had no time for ghosts. Instead, she cooked her own meals, humming again in her kitchen. Not wedding songs this time, but simple tunes of peace. She sat at her table, alone but content, feeding her body with food and her soul with calm. The silence that once felt heavy now felt like a gift. Selina often thought back to the night Jonas betrayed her, when she had stared at her empty bank account. She remembered how broken she had felt. But now, she realized that betrayal had not destroyed her. It had shaped her. It had forced her to rise, to choose herself, to find strength she never knew she had. She didn't need a wedding to feel chosen. She had chosen herself. She didn't need a ring to prove her worth. Her worth was in her survival, her courage, and her freedom. And though the world didn't see every battle she fought, those who had walked through pain knew her truth. Selina didn't just survive heartbreak. She conquered it. And in the quiet of her life, she discovered something more powerful than revenge: peace.